cute and fluffy.
He is your responsibility. Got it.
We promise.
Yeah.
In some of the most recent videos, I've discussed upcoming films and what I expected to see when they premiered in theaters. Most of my expectations were based on plot summaries and details from the trailers, but I can't take the same approach when it comes to the live-action Lilo and Stitch. Disney is pretty faithful when it comes to their modern adaptations. They may sprinkle in some new details to help the story relate to the present-day audience, but we already know what will happen when we walk into the theater and buy our tickets. So instead of telling you what we'll see, I'm using today's video to discuss what I'm most excited about. If you haven't checked out the trailer yet, I highly recommend doing so, because it made me all the more eager for the triumphant return of Lilo and Stitch.
That was close. I don't think you're supposed to drink that.
Number 1. The classic story reimagined. Most adults who are familiar with the classic Disney movies grew up watching them, forming a strong sense of nostalgia around the 2D animation and the fantasy adventures through worlds similar enough to our own that we can immerse ourselves in their narratives with a little suspension of disbelief. Lilo and Stitch is a great example of this, as the setting and characters are places we can recognize aside from the aliens. I can't say why I loved it so much at the time, but in hindsight, it was unlike any other Disney film. Lilo wasn't a Disney princess in need of rescuing. She was a little girl who adopted a strange dog, found herself in the middle of an intergalactic conspiracy, and found family along the way. As an adult, I can't remember the last time I watched the original film beginning to end, so I'm excited to go into the remake with a fresh perspective. The trailer seemed lighthearted, humorous, and animated, which is everything I hoped for when I heard it was in production. The CGI looks amazing, although I had to take a moment to process Pleakley's design. I'll be honest and tell you that it unnerved me to look at, but then I remembered that he's an alien, and to have him appear as he would in real life would naturally make him seem unnatural, for lack of better words. Yet the unnaturalness that made me pause is a testament to how good it looks, so that's a win in my books. Many scenes in the trailer were recognizable from the animated version. We saw Lilo at the animal shelter looking for a dog in the trailer, she and Nani surfing at the beach, Stitch escaping only to land on Earth, and more. The trailer gave the impression that everyone involved had such fun bringing the story to life in a new form, and I can't wait to experience it for the first time among other fans who also grew up with the characters, albeit a little different. While they might not be 2D or hand-drawn anymore, I think the live-action cast perfectly captured the original film spirit. Number 2. The live-action cast. Speaking of the live-action cast, they look terrific in that trailer. Although there are only a few major characters in the film, everyone is giving their all to bring the full Lilo and Stitch experience to life. The trailer highlighted the Pelikai sisters and their contrasting personalities remarkably well, showing how appropriate casting can make or break a film. We spend so much of the trailer with the two sisters as they navigate their lives with Stitch, who is more than they bargained for. Sydney Agudong does a fantastic job as Nani. She feels like an overworked older sister. I'm sure children watching the film for the first time will view Nani as overbearing or high-strung, but that's because they won't understand the weight of her responsibilities. She's a young adult desperate to maintain her curriculum, a job that pays her bills, and raise her younger sister, while Child Protective Services watches for the slightest reason to take Lilo away. I'm unsure how Nani handles so much pressure after her parents' deaths, but Agudong portrays Nani's resolve like it's armor. Then there's Maya Kealoha, who has become an immediate sensation with her breakout role as Lilo. I'd seen a few of her interviews before the trailer, and she already has such a professional and polite presence at a young age. You can tell that she's dedicated and determined to make acting her career, and she's proud to have helped bring one of Disney's beloved classics to life. She does excellent work in the trailer too, as she manages to capture Lilo's childlike wonder and cynicism, which is highlighted by her interactions with Stitch, who isn't afraid to push her out of her comfort zone.
Boo! I'm gonna give you to the count of 3, Stitch.
Number 3. The aliens and experiments. Experiment 626 isn't the only alien we'll see throughout the film, although we should take a moment to appreciate how perfect he looks. He's adorable and the most non-threatening looking extraterrestrial creature I've ever seen, even when he sprouts extra legs and antennae. They nailed his design for this film, his voice is spot on and his personality couldn't be more perfect. Stitch is as much of a brand as a character, so it's not surprising that they put so much effort into getting him right for his new big screen debut. However, I think he's so appealing to the eye and labeled as cute because he's labeled by Lilo as a dog and designed to resemble a koala. He's also furry and blue, making him look more like an animal than a creature from another planet. Many of his fellow experiments share similar features, like Angel and Leroy to name a few. These experiments aren't the only aliens who make their way to Lilo's door. I've mentioned Pleakley, but Stitch's creator Jumba will join him. The Grand Councilwoman, the alien leader of the United Galactic Federation, sends them to hunt down Stitch. The trailer briefly gives us a glimpse of her, the Federation, and many aliens working beneath her to keep the universe safe. During his escape, Stitch steals one of their cruisers. There are many more prominent alien characters throughout the franchise that the film could reference or make nods to, potentially setting up spin-offs or sequels depending on the premiere's success.
We have apprehended a dangerous experiment. Where is he?
Number 4. Nani and David. While some haven't watched Lilo and Stitch in some years, a few people still stumble across frequent conversations about it online. It's a beloved classic with many people having fond memories of the franchise and watching the films while growing up. Everyone's experiences are unique, but most people share the same opinion. David is a great guy and the perfect example of what someone could look for in a partner. The people love David. They'll say it repeatedly, defending him against Prince Charming and Eugene Fitzherbert. It's easy to see why. He's genuinely down to earth, worries about Nani's well-being, and wants to ensure she's alright. Although it's obvious he has feelings for her, he never pushes her into anything she doesn't want to do. He's incredibly patient with her and her unique situation. He also doesn't hesitate to help when he can, and he's kind to Lilo, which probably means the world to Nani after she's been on her own for so long. I don't remember their scenes reading as overly romantic either, which is a nice touch. I don't think the story needed a romance to thrive, but Nani needs someone to depend on to get through the hard days. Fortunately, some of the best relationships come from friendships built on trust. While they may not get together in the first film, their interactions could open the door for more if we're fortunate enough to get a sequel.
You sure that's a dog?
Number 5. Lilo and Stitch. Naturally, I'm excited to witness Lilo and Stitch wreak havoc and become best friends in record time. I'm sure most people can relate to Lilo's feelings of isolation and misunderstanding, so watching the best thing to ever happen to her fall from the sky and turn her life upside down is almost cathartic. He might not be what she wanted, but he's what she needed, and vice versa. These two unlikely friends are in for the greatest adventure of their lives, including intergalactic alien hunters, local bullies, surfing turbulent waves, and exploring an island while trying their best to stay low.
Stitch bad.
Sometimes family isn't perfect. That doesn't mean they aren't good.
Overall, I'm excited to return to one of Disney's most beloved classics with Lilo and Stitch. It does make me want to cover many other films lost to time. There are so many classics that deserve praise even decades later. I hope some of the other 2D films will have new life breathed into them in upcoming years so that a new generation might enjoy their stories and we can return to them too. Lilo and Stitch isn't the first live-action adaptation, but I have a feeling it might be the one that paves the way for the rest.
No, Stitch! You gotta learn to be more careful. You can't just break things all the time.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and turn on notifications to stay updated on our uploads.
Come on, ducking, covering, screaming. Ah!
Sometimes I get really embarrassed for him.